I'm back, and my ass got some shit to talk about, and y'all got the ears to listen. Now, today, I'm going to be talking to y'all about matching philosophies. Now, Elijah, what does it mean to match philosophies? Glad you fucking asked, because your ass wasn't going to be able to do that anyway, considering I'm the only motherfucker in this goddamn room. What it means is, and you probably heard this in different ways, some people don't call it, not everybody calls it matching philosophies. That's just my way of describing it. But it's just simply you and another person, in the case of like someone you dating or you're in a relationship with, or whatever case may be. Ideally, this would be done before a relationship. But if you already in a relationship or married, this would be kind of last minute. This is something that should be done as an act of being proactive, not reactive. So if you're going to self-discover this shit while you're in a relationship or in a marriage, then you're being reactive. If you're doing this while you're just still dating somebody, then you're being proactive. So don't mean that you shouldn't do it. It probably will open your eyes to some shit, but that's just my thorough opinion. I really do think you're being reactive if you're already in a relationship. So what it means to be matching philosophies with someone is just simply that you and that other person agree on critical aspects of how a relationship should function. This can be anything from, I got a list right here, so I don't want to say it all because I'm gonna go through the list anyway. But it's how the functionality of a relationship and a marriage will run, between both of y'all. What basically y'all would expect from each other, based on defining roles and stuff like that. And this is pretty important. This is probably why some of y'all asses never got the jobs y'all wanted to at the companies y'all want to, because while you just looking at the salary and all this other stuff, they looking at, do this person fits in the cultural environment? Do we have matching philosophies? And this is pretty important. That's why, it's kind of like how in high school, I mean, I know this is not everybody's case, but I know in my high school, it was pretty obvious that there was a popular kids group, the smart kids group, the nerds, which was basically just smart people, but they liked other things that they agreed on and stuff like that. So these groups, your affiliation with them is based on your thoughts, opinions, and personality, right? And so that means that if you are a part of the nerd group or the popular group, that means that most of y'all in that group have somewhat similar opinions and thoughts, and a little bit of probably behavior as well. You could kind of think of it as like a precursor to probably joining a fraternity or sorority. You could call it that, because that's kind of how those are too. It's like there's defining characteristics in those fraternities and sororities, that not that everybody's the goddamn same, but it's just that you have a mindset that follows in line with that group. So whether it's the nerd group, y'all have the shared mindset on certain aspects of how y'all think about certain things, or the popular kids group, how they think about things. That's just simply what it was. Y'all have matching philosophies, and this makes y'all get along better, rather than a popular kid group trying to work with the nerd group. If you ever seen that happen, you see how they would be like, you feel this disconnect. Or if a nerd person tried to work with, the bad kids, right? I think that's more common, like in TV shows and stuff, in movies, where they'll put a really smart kid, nerd kid, to help out some bad kid who been acting up throughout his whole, school career. And there will be that huge personality disconnect where they're constantly clashing. That's because outside of their personality, they don't agree on a lot of things. They don't have matching philosophies. The way he thinks of the way the bad boy thinks of the world versus the way the nerd thinks of the world is almost 100% different. And so they clash a lot because of that, on top of their personality. So they're double clashing. So that's basically what I mean. So I have this list right here. This is just going to go through all this. I wrote down a few things because my ass wasn't going to remember every goddamn thing. My brain be going 100 miles per hour. So I decided to write it down because otherwise, y'all, I'm going to close the video and be like, fuck, I forgot this shit, or I should have said that, So, all right. I'm going to go through the list. This is not in no order. So don't be fucking thinking like, oh, this is more important than the other. That's not how this works. All of this shit's important. So the first one is y'all agree on critical relationship expectations. This is more so in the case of like how kids are raised, sex, y'all perspective on sex, if y'all want kids, stuff like that. Now, don't worry too much about the statement. I just use the statement like y'all agree on critical relationship expectations to separate each point that I made. But sex is, to me, critical in most relationships. If you have and now I'm going to break something down since I'm talking about sex. If you meet somebody, right, and they have a low sex drive and you have a high sex drive and y'all get in a relationship, what the fuck you think going to happen? If this person can go a whole month not fucking and they're happy with that, and you can't even go 2 days, well, y'all gonna have some problems. Y'all gonna clash. And usually from the guy to the girl, you gonna look like you think nothing but sex. That may not be the case, but it's because y'all don't have matching perspectives on sex. Y'all don't have the same desires. Some they can care less about it as much as you do. So now, but here's something that could happen. And this don't always happen, so don't fucking think that this will happen for you in your relationship. Y'all can get married, right? Or even during a relationship, y'all can at some point the sex drive could shift where all of a sudden he or she who had a lower sex drive or high sex drive either had a higher sex drive now or a lower sex drive now, respectively. So if you met a girl, for the guys, if you met a girl and her sex drive was low as hell, and then after 5 years, I know that sounds crazy, but this is just all hypothetical. That's why I say don't fucking be trying to bet on this shit. If after 5 years, for whatever reason, she just had a shift, right? And now she's all of a sudden she wants sex more. So maybe her sex is moderate now or high. Cool. Now you get the benefit from that, even though you probably fucking suffer for 5 years, sexually frustrated. But that's why I said it's better to, instead of suffering for 5 years because you're not getting the level of sexual experience you want with your partner, you should be trying to make sure your partner already has that quality. This is why I said this is more so a proactive behavior, not a proactive approach, not a reactive one. Because if you're already in a relationship and y'all don't have matching sex drives, shit, what, you gonna think about breaking up? You see what I mean? So that's why I think that's a critical relationship expectation, because I don't give a fuck what you heard. That shit matters. I don't give a fuck what you say. That shit matters. This whole fucking sitting on your high horse, sex never matters in a relationship. It's about the love. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Cry me a goddamn river. Unless your dick is cut off or you just don't like sex or whatever case may be, for most people, even people who have a moderate sex drive, if they found somebody they had great sex with, they gonna want that to stay consistent. You know what I mean? So don't sit over here talking about something that shit don't matter. Sex compatibility does matter. Again, my trusty old smartphone, something y'all asses don't fucking use the way you should. I can easily pull up countless research that talked about how sexual compatibility is critical in the success of a long-term relationship. You guys need to have matching sexual compatibilities. Now, could you have kids with a woman, and this is for the guys, could you be with a woman who had matching sex drive, she gives birth to your kids, and all of a sudden, due to the birth of children, it greatly affected the way her body functions and her hormones, and now she has a low sex drive? Yes, that can happen. It's also possible that her sex drive can be the same, but because y'all have kids now and kids constantly, cock block, y'all can't get it in the way y'all want to. So is that really a sex drive issue? No, it's just, you got fucking kids and They mess everything up from what I heard. So, but when it comes to this, can happen. Like, guys, a lot of y'all need to learn how to fuck a woman's body work. Like, it's complicated, but there's some overall general things you can understand if you just willing to like pick up a book and read or learn, or pay more attention to what some women tell y'all. So when it comes to a woman giving birth to children, there's a good chance something about her body will permanently change. The ideal world is that nothing changes. She don't lose no teeth. She don't go blind in the eye. Her foot don't fall off. Her ass cheeks don't go flat. Like, you don't know what can happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So almost anything. She can lose her life. That's a big thing. So you have to be mindful of this and say, okay, if we have kids, this is something that can happen. And y'all gotta, have a contingency plan or something to work through that. One of the most common contingency plans is to just start planning sex. As crazy as that sounds, that is a thing. So, but yeah, that was just an example in the sex part. But critical, I will also say kids is a critical thing because, and I've heard this happen a lot where the dude or the girl don't want kids and then the other party do, and they don't talk about it. They get in a relationship and then all of a sudden they find out one of them don't want kids and the other person is distraught about that. That's something that's important, y'all. I don't know how the fuck y'all, and this probably goes back to the issue that, some people, have this conflict in their mind that like, oh, certain things shouldn't be talked about so soon. And just like I said, with rocking the boat, you should be trying to talk about things as soon as possible because it keeps y'all from wasting fucking time. You see how all this shit ties in together? This is why I talked about rocking the motherfucking boat, because this way you don't end up in a dumbass relationship with somebody that, oh, okay, you like them, but y'all don't have matching philosophies. Y'all disagree on a critical relationship aspect. Them not wanting kids and you wanting kids is a problem. You can't say that relationship gonna work because the only way that shit gonna work is one of y'all change y'all mind. Either the person who wanted kids stop fucking wanting kids, or the person who don't want kids now want kids. And in most cases, it takes a lot of life to happen when it comes to stuff like this, before somebody changes their mind. This is why I say this is critical, because this is not like a person who don't want kids. They're not going to just wake up overnight and then now they're like, you know what? I watched all those videos and, I think I could deal with one kid. It's not like that. Usually a lot more life. They have to go through a lot more life and get older and realize, okay, did I really ever want kids, or do I really want kids now? Right? A person who's in their early or mid 20s may feel strongly that they don't, but then they hit the early to mid 30s and they're like, damn, that paternity instinct kicks in, and now all of a sudden they want to reproduce. That's just part of Mother Nature. Like, you may not feel it now, but you might feel it later. Now, if you hit mid 30s and you still don't want kids, then hey, you probably will never want them. But it can happen. It can happen. You can run into, I'll probably talk about this in a different video, like different types of people you can meet. But when it comes to dating and relationships. But yeah, kids is a critical aspect. How you raise the children are a critical aspect. I have that here too. How you raise your kids, or how you think children should be raised, is also critical, because if you are somebody who thinks that you shouldn't put your hands on a child no matter what they do, but the other person thinks, oh yeah, I'm gonna whoop their motherfucking ass if they do something stupid, then y'all have difference in philosophy, because that's going to cause a lot of fights down the road. Again, people are probably thinking in their head, well, I don't even think I'm going to get that far with the motherfucker anyway. Well, then I don't know why you fucking with them. Or if you don't think you're going to get that far, then this shit ain't for you. Shut the fuck up and move on. God damn it. You ain't got to fucking worry about it then. Shit. God damn. You always got to fucking explain everything. I got to worry about the all police. I got to worry about the maybe I ain't going to make it there police. I got to worry about the people who don't think certain things are important to talk about early in police. I got to worry about every goddamn police and the police out there too. Shit. Stop trying to be a goddamn keyboard warrior. So, like I said, how you raise kids is very critical. Sex is a very critical component of a relationship. If y'all want kids, it's really critical. This is just the stuff that came to my mind. I think these are top three biggest things. I've heard people not talk to each other no more or break up because the sex was off or somebody didn't want kids. Another one. If what where do you see the relationship going? You know, if somebody is just on some Fruit of the Loom shit, like they don't want to get in no what's it called? No marriage. They don't ever want to be married, but they're cool with just having a long-term partnership. That's different. You know what I'm saying? And that's a critical relationship aspect because what they view as their ultimate successful goal in a relationship with somebody is different than yours. If you feel like you're somebody who wants to be married at some point, then you shouldn't be fucking with somebody who never wants to marry. See what I mean? Because otherwise you're just wasting your fucking time. What's the fucking point in being with somebody who never wants to marry anybody regardless of how great they are? Because that's just not what they stand for. They stand for just a long-term partnership. So you just have to accept that and say, okay, either you're going to be okay with it and change your perspective and accept that, or you're going to have to move on. Simple as that. Because you can't change nobody. A lot of y'all be trying to worry about changing people. Whatever they tell you, believe it. Whatever they show you, believe it. So that's full criticals right there. The next one is y'all agree on how relationships should or can thrive. So this is things like what I wrote down here is stuff like calls every day versus calls every other day versus chit chatting once a week. Everybody has a different approach to how they want to interact with their partner in a relationship. So therefore, you need to be mindful about that when you're dating. So if you know you want a partner who they likes to talk to you every fucking day, well, step number one, y'all better have, y'all better be some people who like to talk first of all. But step number two, if that's already good, then yeah, you need to be you need to make sure that person is open to that too, because you got people who's talkative and they love to talk, but they don't want to talk every day with you. So you gotta be mindful about that and say, okay, I know that this is something I really like or appreciate in a situation with somebody. So I would like to be able to talk to my partner every day, especially on the phone. So I want to make sure that when you out dating and you getting to know people, this is something you fucking looking for, because otherwise you're going to be looking high, dry, and stupid as hell when you and feeling some type of way when 2 days go by and all the person did was text you and you feel like they don't like you no more. It's not that they don't like you no more. They probably have different philosophies on how a relationship interaction goes. If you, like I said, if you want somebody who only calls you once a week, but they text you every day, that is a different type of interaction in a relationship. So therefore, when you looking for people or you finding somebody to be with, that's something that you need to pay attention to, because that means you wouldn't want somebody who's going to try to call you 3 times in a week or every goddamn day. So it just depends. So yeah, so that's pretty important. Things like who cooks for who, right? That's also like, again, how a relationship should thrive. You have people, and this kind of plays into roles like gender roles and stuff like that. If you care about gender roles, this might affect that, because who cooks for, I know, like, I've cooked for people more than they cook for me. And I didn't give a fuck about it. I didn't care. It didn't bother me the least bit. That's just who I was. But if I was the type of person where I said, okay, well, whoever I'm fucking with, I want them to cook just as much as me, or I want them to cook mostly for us, then that's something I gotta find somebody who agrees in that mindset. More so, they're probably gonna say something along the lines of, I love to cook, or I just like cooking, and cooking for myself and cooking for people. People like that, that's a quality, that's a characteristic trait. Not everybody likes to fucking cook. Some people who don't mind cooking still don't want to cook all the fucking time, because it is time consuming. It's a pain in the ass, and you gotta wash the fucking dishes, wipe down the counter, clean it. It's a lot of work, and make your plate and still eat. So if that's something that's important to you, especially for guys, when it comes to a girl cooking, then you need to look for that. Not every person wants to cook, and not every person knows how to fucking cook. So you got to be mindful of that. Yeah, and the another one was the with how people agree relationships should or can thrive is supporting family members. So this is kind of like a gray area, because it depends on how long y'all have known each other. But there's some relationships where people value the care and interaction that you have towards their family, whether it's their brothers and sisters and stuff like that. This might happen a little bit more down the road when you get to know the person better and y'all might be going to the next level and stuff. But yeah, you would want to get to know like some of their family members, not their mother and father. Not everybody's on that type of time, but if they got brothers and sisters, how you interact with them says a lot about you. This could also fall under a red flag or not, because if you on some fuck shit with their brother, whether you a man or a woman, that can look bad on you. So therefore, you not relationship material, stuff like that. So how and then also, are you somebody who's a family person? This also is about family. So a lot of women are family oriented. So if you're not family oriented, you need to learn how to be one, because that is usually an important aspect. Because if you think about it this way. Let's add some logic into this. Most girls are family oriented, right? And let's say you a guy who's not, right? Maybe you don't fuck with your family like that. But if you want kids and you want to be married one day or whatever case may be, then you gonna have to be family oriented at some point. So wouldn't it behoove you to fucking learn how to do that shit now, than to be waiting until you get a girl, want to have kids with her, then you want to hop in marriage, and you don't even know how to be a family man. You just, it doesn't go together. You need to have the skills already. Otherwise, you just look like a goddamn jackass. If you want a woman to be a family woman, love kids and love having a father and stuff like that, you need to be that type of guy too. But that is a characteristic trait. You need to be able to already show that. And sometimes some people look for that when you interact with some of their siblings or their cousins, or maybe really close friends that's been around them all their life. They try to see, how do you interact with them, and that says a lot about if you're a family person or not. So, and how you treat them. So that's pretty important. All right, the next one on the list is y'all have the same belief system. So this is obviously belief system. What do you think about religion? That's what I'm talking about. Religious belief systems is pretty important. Don't fucking get offended when somebody don't want to fuck with you just because they think that y'all belief system don't match. If that's what they on, that's how they feel, then guess what? They just saved you some time. So if you a goddamn Christian and you never gonna be a Muslim, and the person you trying to talk to is a Muslim and they never gonna be a Christian, well, then y'all got different belief systems. Now, is this always gonna affect every relationship? Probably not. But again, if the goal is to be married at some point, one of y'all are gonna assimilate into the other. And if you do practice your religion pretty hard, if you practice it often, you don't want this disconnect because your wife is Muslim and you Christian, and they have differences in beliefs and who they believe in. So belief systems, they can make or break a relationship at some point. Not everybody's going to take it that deep, and I mean that for men and women, but it could be possible that somebody you messing with, if they feel like you don't take your belief system very seriously. Let's say y'all have matching belief systems. Let's say y'all both fucking Jewish, and y'all don't want to but you don't practice your faith as much as they do. They can break off with you just from that. As they get to know you, or as y'all in a relationship, if they see that you don't put into practice what you believed in as much as they think their partner should, or the person that they're going to be married to should, then that can affect the success or the longevity of your relationship. So belief systems is pretty important, especially how long you practice it. Do you practice it often? How much of do you actually try to live the life that your belief system talks about, stuff like that. So if you gonna be Christian and stuff like that, I'm not saying you gotta follow everything line by line, because again, it's dependent on the person. Not everybody's gonna look at you with a fine tooth and nail and say, oh, you didn't fucking do your prayer for 30 to 35 minutes and 42 seconds today, so you not a real believer. I don't fuck with you. Not everybody gonna be like that. So just keep that in mind, though. Belief system is pretty important. So when you talking to people and they talking about how they expect you to believe in God, or follow the Quran or whatever case may be, just know one of the important questions they probably gonna ask you is how about your belief system. So keep that in mind. All right, the next one is y'all agree on how finances in a relationship slash marriage should be managed. So when I say relationship, I mean long term partnerships. These are people who probably not don't want to be married, but they probably gonna have a partner that they with in the long term. So at some point, their finances might mix in together. So if you're just in a regular relationship, you shouldn't be fucking worrying about this. But this is something you should keep in mind when you're getting to know somebody, because if you meet somebody who doesn't manage their money very well, or they spend their money on frivolous shit all the time, or they're very, and I hate to say this, but guys, there's guys who do manage their money poorly, but there's more women who do manage their money poorly. I tend to see more guys who's very more money minded than women. It's not to say all women are like that, but shit. I mean, I just think that as a guy, I've rarely seen the guys in my life. So this is just my perspective, who was irresponsible with their money. I probably seen, for every one guy, I met 3 girls who were more irresponsible with their money. That every other fucking time we on the phone, they at the goddamn Target or in the goddamn mall. You know what I mean? Like, guys I knew, they almost rarely walked in the damn store, or if they did, it was just for something real small. But these people, when it came to the women, they really buying like expensive shit almost all the time, and then they wonder why they don't have no money. So how a person manages their finances and their spending habits play a critical role in the success of your relationship with them. Because if you somebody who's a big saver, you don't like spending your money on a lot of little shit over time, but the person you talking to or the person you in a relationship with, they're more irresponsible. They tend to spend their money recklessly and all this other stuff, and you always have to perform corrective actions and stuff like that, then y'all gonna have a problem. If y'all haven't had a problem yet, for the people in a relationship already, you going to. Simple. Because that shit is dead ass important. You can't have somebody who's just reckless with their money and you somebody who's over here, counting every fucking penny. That, again, this is 2 people who don't have matching philosophies. That y'all look crazy as hell. It looks like a goddamn circus in that goddamn house. If she is somebody who likes to be free spirited and, at the moment, at the whim of the wind, all of a sudden she wants to go flying to goddamn Dubai or some shit, or goddamn Asia. And you like, nah, we need to plan this money, save up for it. It's going to take some time. Maybe we'll end up going next year. If that's how you are and she gets pissed off about that, y'all ain't on the same page on how money should be managed. It's either if she's going to manage her money poorly, then you need to be the one responsible for money management, and she has to be okay with that. If she's going to manage her money at least somewhat responsibly, then whoever wants to manage it can manage it. But I think it's better for people to meet people who, to some degree, they ain't got to be fucking anal about it, but to some degree, they either agree on the mindset of how money should be managed, even if they spend their money poorly, or they just a good money manager. Rather, they have the same mindset about how the money should be managed, how things should be saved, how much should be saved every month based on income. And on top of that, they put this into practice. And I think it's more important that somebody puts it into practice on top of having the same mindset. So the last one's going to kind of go hand in hand. The last point I have goes hand in hand with, management of finances and other things, which is y'all agree on how the man and woman should operate on a regular basis towards each other. So one of these things is money management. So if y'all have a viewpoint if y'all have an opinion and y'all like, oh, we do believe that there should be gender roles in our relationship. The woman should cook, the woman should nurture, and the man should be providing, and the man should be paying for everything, and the man should be managing finances. Then y'all need to have that type of understanding before you worry about trying to be in a long-term relationship, be married to somebody, or get committed to that degree. If y'all have differences in opinion, if she thinks it should be 100% of him handling all the expenses and none on her end, and she get to spend her money on frivolous shit, and you don't like that shit, then they ain't the woman for you. If you think that it should be 50-50, if he thinks it should be 50-50, and you a woman who come from a cultural background where it matters to you that the man always is the one who provides, then that ain't the man for you. Again, if y'all want to play around on dating and stuff, that's one thing. But if y'all trying to find somebody for the long run, then this is something that's really important. You can't have somebody who's on one end of the stick and the other person on the other end of the stick. Y'all have to be on the same side. So I call it like walking together down the street. Y'all can't be on two different sides of the street. He's on oncoming traffic, you on incoming traffic. Like, that's not going to work. Y'all need to be on the same side. So yeah, and this is also like I said, cooking, cleaning, stuff like this have ended relationships, y'all, a lot. Stuff like this have destroyed the sexual experience, the emotional connection in relationships a lot. Just the basic shits, like who's throwing away the trash, how frequently the trash is thrown away, the cleanliness of the house. Like, somebody is real clean and strict on how clean their, the living house, where they live. They strict on how clean their living arrangements are. And you somebody who's kind of whatever. You'll toss a shirt here and there. It's not crazy dirty in your place, but you might let some things hang around in certain places that it don't need to be. And that might drive that person crazy. It might turn them off from you over time. It may not turn them off from you in the beginning. It may not turn them off from you like in the first few months, maybe even a year or so. But at some point, when y'all living together and shit, that shit gonna whoop their ass. At some point, it's gonna drive them fucking crazy. Y'all not gonna fuck the same. Y'all not gonna kiss the same. Depending on who it is, they not gonna take you out on dates like that no more. They just gonna be turned off from you because y'all philosophies on how a home should be managed is different. They want to be whatever with their belongings, and you like somebody like, hey, the coat need to be in the closet. Why are you putting it on the chair? You know what I'm saying? So that over time can get really annoying, and it can make you emotionally disconnect from the person because they're constantly putting you in a frustrated mode. You see what I mean? So that's why I say, like, it can lead to emotional disconnect. Not because you don't love the person or you don't like them no more. More so that, like, if every other day or every day you're getting frustrated because this person continues to do the same shit all the time when it comes to how the house should function, whether it's in regards to cleaning, cooking, or lawn mowing, whatever it is, then this will put you in a frustrated state really often. It's going to put you in an annoyed mindset really often, and it's going to turn you off from the person, which is going to thus lead into a disconnect in a relationship, which is going to thus lead into potentially the relationship ending at some point. So this is all a domino effect. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody's going to jump off a bridge that soon. They're going to think about it first. Simple as that. So if you want a relationship that's going to last pretty long or the rest of your goddamn life, that's something you really got to think about. The regular basis of, and you can learn some of these things when you dating somebody. Like when you come over their place and it look clean 99% of the time, or it looks majority clean majority of the time, then you can learn, you could tell that that person is somebody who is somewhat strict about how their living arrangements is. If you come into a place that tends to be messy majority of the time and all this other stuff, and that's how it most of the time looks, not that it looks like that all the time, but most of the time, then guess what? Then you can tell that on a regular basis, this is how that person's living arrangements is. So if y'all put two of y'all together, y'all gonna you gonna get on whoever's the cleaner person is gonna drive the other person crazy. So hell, even the dirtier person might go crazy because they never can find shit because the clean person is always putting shit back where it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that has to be in mind. So these were just a few points. Like I said, overall though, this is not the all be all. These are just things that you can think about that I think are pretty important. And there's a few other things that probably just didn't come to my mind at the time. So they could always be a part 2, part 3, part 55 to this shit. But these are just some things that what I mean when I say y'all should have matching philosophies. Y'all should be agreeing on these critical relationship success things because this does affect the longevity of the relationship. This will turn a relationship that could potentially be 30 years long to being fucking 10 years, or 10 years long to being fucking 2 years long. So if you want something to last long, y'all should agree on certain shit like this. So, all right, that was about it that I had to talk about. Thanks for listening to the shit that came out my goddamn mouth. I'll talk to y'all later.